really don't think you're allowed to call Kiwis that anymore. It's 2020, man. Welcome to a very special episode of the Black Flag podcast. As always, I'm Nev Ross. Joining me, Jake Druitt. Snake, welcome.
Yo, what's up?
Big Speedway news. Something had to happen during this COVID time because it was getting all a bit too much depressing with racing getting cancelled everywhere. But finally, news is broken. Team Australia. Right here. You can't see it because of the reflections, but that's a Team Australia stock car. That's the Black Flag podcast logo. Do the math. We're going to New Zealand.
Are we?
Yes, we're going. I'll pay your flights.
Yeah, no, it's true. I've got approached by Speedway Australia probably 6 months ago to captain the team. They said they want the best driver in the captain the team, so I've got the gig.
Well, I'll correct you there because I've done a bit of research on it. Obviously, you haven't. So it's not actually ran by Speedway Australia. It's just some really great brains from within Speedway Australia who've decided to put together a team to go over to New Zealand to represent Australia in the New Zealand Stock Car Championship at Wellington Speedway.
Teams won, yeah.
Yeah, the teams racing. So I know nothing about it. I did a little bit of a quick YouTube search and just seen cars getting slammed into the concrete left, right, and centre. It actually looks like your highlight reel, if I'm being real.
Yeah, no, it's I got on YouTube actually, and I reckon I've seen more backs get blown out on that than I did on Renee Gracie's OnlyFans.
Yeah, okay, well, let's just reel that one in. You could be right though, but plenty of dudes doing some slamming, that's for sure. All right, so we're going to jump in now. We're going to join up with Adam Brook and Tim Saville from Speedway Australia, but in this case, Team Australia. And hopefully they're going to answer some of the questions that have already been getting thrown around the interwebs.
So you're gonna tell us who these two are? Because Tim Saville is...
He's the boss.
Oh, okay.
He's the man.
Yeah. Okay. So am I allowed to swear or?
Probably not at him.
Oh.
But I mean, just out of respect, I probably wouldn't do that. But I mean, it's our fucking show, so we can swear all we want. Let's send it. All right, let's try and connect it up. All right, are you there? Can you hear us?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, how you going?
How you going?
So this is so far the two-man team of Team Australia. Good luck in New Zealand, guys. Hopefully it doesn't hurt too much.
Yeah, it would 4 on 2, that's for sure.
All right, so we're here to ask the burning questions. What is Team Australia? We've seen the successful launch and the introduction of it on social media, but now it's time to actually know what the hell are Australians going over there for.
Well, do you want to answer that one or do you want me to kick it off?
I thought you were going to do all the answering and then I was going to correct everything that you said.
Oh, yeah, that's probably how we'll go.
Team Australia is, in reality, Adam's idea in terms of going over and seeing for himself what it was all about and seeing that there is a possibility for bona fide Australians to get involved and show New Zealand what teams racing is all about. There's a long history of this kind of interaction between the two countries, but it's probably been forgotten about, and our aim is to bring it back and show the world really that Australians can do anything that New Zealand can do, but better.
Well, a lot better, and we'll probably adopt it and make it our own, like Pavlova and Russell Crowe. So that'd be the plan anyway. We'll just
and crowded house. I love him throwing me under the bus for the team, so if it fails, it's my fault. But
yeah, says the guy with the Kiwi accent.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, look, for us, we travel around Australia quite often. We get to see competitors that you don't often see at the front of the fields in national title events, whether it be because of their division of choice or whether it be because of where they're based, where they're located, and they can't necessarily make it to those titles. And for me, for us, this was an opportunity to sort of correct that imbalance. I mean, we've thrown the doors open to anyone in Australia to apply for this team, and you could see some surprises in there, but don't be surprised when they get over to New Zealand and actually do the business.
Yeah, well, that's what's super exciting. So it's not. I mean, we come from a Speedway sedan background, but still Speedway fans, loving all classes of Speedway. But it's not just restricted to open wheel division or sedan division. This is open for everybody from every class in Australian Speedway.
Yeah, basically you've just got to be mad enough to have a go and see how you do go. I mean, the principle around this is a bit different to what New Zealanders will have been used to. So there has been a long history of international drivers going over to New Zealand and, for want of a better word, getting their butt kicked. That won't be the case this time because it's going to be planned to a different level, and there's going to be no surprises for the guys, and they're going to be well prepared, and that's the difference this time around. And everyone from New Zealand listening to this right now is going to be chuckling to themselves and saying, ha ha ha, they're going to get wound off the end. But in reality, we're going to make sure that doesn't occur by prepping them properly, giving them the right equipment, the right knowledge, and seeing how they go when they get over there.
So what sort of training do you think drivers who are wanting to go over and compete could do? Just sit there and headbutt a wall as hard as you can until you sort of get used to what a concussion feels like, or what's going to be the best plan of attack?
That's what he's been doing for the last few weeks, but that might have just been.
That's probably where the idea for the team came from, to be honest. But
it's a lot more sophisticated than that, and there will be a lot to do, and it's not going to be just throw open your checkbook and get on a plane and go over there. The training will start soon in terms of the two aspects of it are actually racing the car, but also learning how to teams race. And to race the car, you need to be fit enough. You need to know what you're doing. You need to be comfortable in the vehicle and all those kind of things. But to learn the actual racecraft of teams racing is a completely different kettle of fish, and that we can actually start on before they get over there. We don't want to give too much away, but there's lots of things that can be done. But look, if it was me and I was looking at applying, the first thing I'd be doing is Googling stock car or super stock teams racing and seeing what you find.
Well, you probably lose half the applicants once they start Googling it, because the first video I clicked on was 6 cars going headfirst into a wall, full bicky. So
the big question that I had straight away, Nev rang me about this and said, what's going on, sort of thing. And then what is the car like? It's different to what we have. It looks like a bumper car pretty much, and the only sort of research that I've had to do so far is a bit of YouTube watching like Nev, and I just watch blokes just banging them into fences and stuff. It seems pretty out there. But what are they? How much power do they have? What are they based on? What sort of info have we got there?
So the cars themselves, I was in the same boat, going over there and seeing these things firsthand. My first reaction was, what are these things? I need to get in a workshop and actually pull one apart and have a play. From the outside looking in, they kind of look like an open wheeler. They sort of look like they've got a sprint car wing or something on top. In actual fact, they couldn't be further from the truth. They're about a 1.5 ton car. They are a tube frame, similar to what you'd find in a sprint car or a super sedan or something like that, but obviously a heck of a lot stronger. They're capped at 4 litres. There are 2 types of car. There's obviously the more affordable stock car, which is what we're going to compete in, and then right at the top level, they've got the super stock cars, both 4 litres. You could probably say the stock cars are quite similar to a modified sedan if you were to actually break it down. They're a 1,500 kilo car, around about 300 horsepower. They do run on street tyres. When you do get to the 500 horsepower super stocks, you're looking at race rubber. But a lot of OEM componentry, funnily enough, underneath that car, like they run effectively a Falcon front end in them. They run a Hilux diff. They've got a 4-speed or a 3-speed gearbox. When you actually break the car down into its individual components and look at what it is, you're sort of looking at basically a modified sedan on steroids that you're allowed to run into people with.
Yeah, right. And the track, like what sort of, for comparison's sake, what could we compare the track to?
Probably a good example. The tracks in the main are probably smaller than Australian venues, but something like Avalon or Mount Gambier, those kind of tracks.
Pretty
the
round
biggest one.
Tracks.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sorry, small round tracks, would you say?
Yeah, they definitely have straights and corners. There's none of the Kingaroy or Lismore continuous corners. It's definitely 2 straights. A lot of them, for example, Palmerston North has a rugby field inside it, so you've definitely got two long straights. Wellington has a bit more banking than most. It's a pretty easy track to drive. There are definitely spots where you want to avoid on the track where you can get caught out. It's a bit easier to stay out of trouble, but in other spots you can get into trouble. So, we'll work them through all those kind of things and see where things end up. But no, nothing more than about 430 metres on the pole. So generally smaller than what you guys are used to.
Yeah, and they've got massive crowds over there. That's one thing I do know. They pull huge crowd numbers. It's insane.
Yeah, the biggest event in the country gets 16,000 both nights. Wellington, where we're going, has a capacity probably around about 7,000, and they'll pack that to the gunnels. I mean, I think there's going to be about 10,000 Australians coming over to join us. So it might be one of those occasions where the Kiwis get drowned out. That'll be the aim, of course.
Well, that's been the feedback, funnily enough, was that with very limited information that we've put out so far for Team Australia, just the announcement videos and the few little social media posts that have popped up here and there, so many people have contacted us and said, are you boys going? Because we want to come. And everybody just wants to, they don't even know what it's about yet. All they've seen is that cars that are allowed to hit each other and basically a cool holiday to New Zealand with Speedway people. Like, it ticks the box for so many Speedway fans around the country.
Yeah, the funny thing about Wellington is it's pretty much like a big Mildura.
Perfect. They get dust storms every day too.
You guys, that's
It is. I mean, Wellington itself, it is the capital, and it's easy to access, which is another reason why we chose this year and this event. But yeah, it's a real, when you get up to where the track is, it's real New Zealand culture, but it's a real speedway area, and it's going to be fantastic. It's the weather's probably going to be the only thing to be aware of. I mean, they have a lot more rainouts. One year they had 14 rainouts in the season, so let's hope that 2021 isn't one of those.
It's almost as many as Nyora.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah. So, who can apply? What sort of criteria for the very first Team Australia heading over to compete in the teams championship? What are you looking for in a driver? What would be the key criteria that's going to get somebody in the seat into one of these stock cars to compete?
Well, as Tim said, I mean, it's not going to be a case of throw open the checkbook and you're going to find your way in the team. As the video says, we're effectively looking for the fastest, the toughest, the most hardworking sort of competitors that we can come across. Obviously, a key attribute that everybody's going to have to bring to this team is that of a good team ethic. Teamwork is obviously priority. We don't need a hero in the team. We need a group of 5-6 competitors that we can take over there.
Well, that puts Jake out. He's all about himself.
Will we mention the hero? But, we need a team of 5 or 6 people who can basically gel and work together and race as a team more than anything. I imagine some of you guys have already put in an application. I think I've seen one of you come through already.
It's definitely not me. That's for sure. I'm more of a beer drinking spectator kind of guy.
Just as part of Black Flag, do we get a say in any of the drivers? Because I've got someone I'd vouch for.
No. I would not think they'd let us have any say in who gets to sit in the car.
It's not me. But I'm just going to put it out there. Brad Warren would be my number one choice for this.
Really?
Yep. Of anyone in Australia, Brad Warren, my number one choice for this.
Well, see, for me, it'd be Anthony Bear. So many episodes now we've spoken about Barry being the greatest of all time. He's only really competed in street stocks. Now's an opportunity for him to go on a big stage and compete and represent the country.
Yeah, I know, but Brad Warren's a master of smashing cars up, like in crash and bash and stuff like that. He's the man. Him and Matt Nelson, I reckon, pretty good.
I've seen you drive a few people into the wall.
Yeah, I know. But that's not deliberate,
anyway,
so that's the problem.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
So obviously there's going to be an influx of drivers wanting to go over for the event and obviously compete and have the opportunity to be involved in this. But we said about a lot of spectators wanting to go over and be a part of it as well. Can spectators be involved? What level of support would you like to see as far as supporters coming over to New Zealand for the event?
Dear Cush Clothing, if you are going to sell items on the internet, make sure you have a secure firewall. I have helped myself to your stock. And just like Robin Hood, I will be giving to the people. I have set my own discount code to the online store. It will give you 21% off your order. Enter code pundit #1. You have until Rhino can crack my encryption. Lots of love. The Speedway Pundit.
Right, that's you. No, that's cool. Look, I mean, I think the thing is that this is, Team Australia is, designed to be something for everyone to get involved in. And yes, there's drivers, and there'll probably be I would estimate there could even be 20 go over. In a perfect world, COVID, accepted and all that kind of stuff. You need to find the 5 or 6 that are going to be year ones on the night next year. But with the lead up stuff, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for drivers to get over and have a go, and that means there'll be plenty of opportunities for their family, their friends, and speedway people. The fundraising type thing we haven't even kicked off yet, but that's going to be part of it, and getting people involved and exposure for people who want to help out. There's going to be massive opportunities in the coming months for that kind of stuff too. So yes, you might not be able to get there, but you can. I mean, it's something that's going to be streamed. There's lots of opportunities to help out, lots of stuff happening, on and off the track here and in New Zealand. It's just going to be limitless. But yeah, it's certainly not just one meeting. The team have to do 5 meetings in New Zealand prior to qualify to enter the event itself. So, we're thinking in a perfect world, start of October, November, there'll be people jetting across every weekend basically to be racing to get their numbers on the board that they need to get. That doesn't necessarily mean it's teams racing either. It can be individual racing. They do have individual racing over there, most weekends. And so, yeah, there's just huge opportunities for everyone to, just do their thing over here, but dive across there as well when they get the opportunity.
So, something you spoke about before with the fundraising and stuff like that, and getting into that further down the track. This, and I had to correct Jake before. So this has got nothing to do with Speedway Australia. It's not a Speedway Australia funded event. There'll be nothing coming out of Speedway Australia for it. This is purely you two guys as Speedway fans, as motorsport fans, wanting to be able to take a team from Australia and go over and compete over there. To be able to do that, you haven't just been able to do it with the two of you. There's a fair team involved who's been working behind the scenes. So can we introduce who some of the team members are? We know we've seen Jason Crow and Jason Crow Media. Crowy, we always used to love him with the Speedway sedans, and now he's making his comeback to be the voice of Team Australia. But who else is going to be heading over?
Greg Lind from SSA is going to be our team manager.
The chief.
Which is, chief. He's involved. That's a role over there that they have. You have to have a designated manager who has a license and does a whole lot of duties. Greg doesn't know this as I'm saying this. He's probably listening thinking, what? I didn't sign up for that. But it is actually quite an important role, but it's also the chief role of that person is to wind the crowd up and make sure that they're baying for Australian blood via the interviews before the race and that kind of stuff. And we need someone big and bulky who can look after themselves on the infield. So Greg's going to be the perfect person for that. Plus he's a natural leader and all those kind of things that we need. Probably the one wild card that we've got. I mean, other roles. There's a whole load of other people that we haven't necessarily selected yet. Like we're going to have a video analyst. We've got a personal trainer, but our tactician is someone who does have a lot of skill and experience in this area, and we have managed to poach an award-winning journalist, driver. All-round nice guy from New Zealand to help us out. His name's Scott Tennant, so you'll hear heaps more about him soon. He's actually made his debut on iRacing, the very first iRacing event we did. He ran a Team Australia car and got 5th in the modified sedan national title. So we've been planning this for quite a long time.
I reckon he stuck me in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I reckon he stuck me in the wall then. Was he doing a bit of teams racing in the iRacing Championship?
He's been monitoring to see what goes on. So look, there's but in reality, by the time you add in the pit crews, the drivers, the families, you're going to have heading up towards 100 people at the race meeting themselves with some kind of activity, involvement in the race meeting and what goes on. So it's a huge effort.
Well, here's what I propose. I propose that we do an Australian invasion, similar to the Barmy Army. When those morons come over here for the cricket. Yeah. But we'll be those morons this time. We'll go over to New Zealand. We'll have the Australian Army making plenty of noise in the crowd so that the chief can be nice and safe on the infield stirring up the Kiwis, and we'll be in the danger zone out in the spectators' point, out in the crowd, stirring them up from there. Pretty much, if the Kiwis don't hate the Aussies now, they will once we win it.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what happens.
Yeah.
We win everything. Except for V8 Supercars.
We'll bowl them an underarm on the track and we'll win.
Don't laugh. I mean, it can happen. I mean, the thing about this is we wouldn't do it if we didn't think that, you know, Australia had the capabilities to actually be competitive. There's certainly no point doing this and throwing everyone to the lions. It's got to be a sustainable activity that helps the sport over here for a number of years, and that is the aim. And that's why we want to make sure that everyone's looked after and we do it properly, because there is huge potential. There's upside, you know, for Australian Speedway. And look, I mean, you talked about it before. It's not a Speedway Australia initiative. Mainly, we didn't ask for that. We don't have time. You know, we would be detracting from what we're trying to do in our day jobs, keeping Speedway ticking over here, you know, if we diverted time and resources into it. But we certainly have got endorsement. It's a official Speedway Australia team once it's selected. So we got that blessing. But yeah, look, we just have too much to do during our 9 to 5 stuff to be distracted from trying to, you know, grow the crowds in New Zealand, which undoubtedly we're going to do. But, you know, we want to, it's always Australia first, and this is about helping the Australian Speedway as much as it is showing the New Zealanders what we're all made of.
Being that you're obviously a Kiwi, you're not a Trojan horse, are you? Like, you're not
trying to set us
not
up.
trying to set the Aussies up, are you?
Mate, I've watched more teams racing probably than most human beings on Earth, and so I've seen what works and what doesn't work, and there's a massive history of new teams coming along in New Zealand and, you know, not doing things right and then sort of getting beaten up and disappearing. So if there's one thing I've learned, it's sort of what not to do. I mean, in terms of me, I've never raced in one of these things, but I've seen plenty of them. But I know that, you know, there's people that we do all this planning for 6 months, and with say you've got a team of 10 drivers, until they get over there and actually experience it and see what it's like to have a hit and get through the other side, we're just not going to know. And that's probably one of the exciting things about it is, you know, are these guys, you talk about your Brad Warrens and that kind of stuff, you know, is he going to be the real deal? We won't actually know till we get over there and put him in a car and see how he goes. And that's actually quite cool to see, you know, who's going to thrive in that and who's going to say, yep, I've had my crack and
I'll tell you something. If Brad Warren's no good, I'll shave my head.
You pluck your head.
I'll pluck the last few out. How many cars do you have in a team? Just, you got obviously a few drivers and they sub you in and out in case they get concussion or backs blown out.
Well, I suppose that would be a thing. You know, drivers having a concussion, I suppose you probably can't roll them out for the next heat when they're sitting there head swirling on the shoulders.
That's one of the roles of the manager, actually, is to make sure that the drivers are okay for the next race. So you have it's either or. It's either 4 or 5 car teams on the track. The host track gets to make that decision in advance when the supplementaries go out. But you have a reserve car and then another reserve driver on top of that. So if they have 4 car teams racing, we need 6 people. If they have 5 car teams racing, we need 7 people, but working on the assumption that they won last year, the team that are hosting it, they won with 4 car teams. I'd assume they're going to stick to 4 car teams themselves, which means we're going to need 6. So in any race, you have 4 start, you've got a reserve on the infield and a spare driver. The next race, usually your reserve will get a crack and someone else has a break. You've got 4 races over 2 nights to win. So you win 4 races, you're the national champions. Sounds pretty easy, doesn't it?
Yeah. No.
Oh, piece of cake. Piece of cake.
I can't win a race when no one's trying to hit me and I'm hitting everyone else. So this sounds hard. So looks crazy.
It sounds like a cool challenge, though.
Yeah, it would be.
It's very technical. There's just so much science behind it all. It just looks like a free-for-all, but sticking to the plan is probably the most important thing that a team can do, and that's where, you know, having a tactician and a video analyst and stuff like that will actually be beneficial. Most teams, if they stick to their plan, will win the race. The issue is as the race unfolds and people think they need to deviate from what they've been tasked to do, that's when things tend to go amiss. It's going to be really cool. We can do a lot of stuff over here, as we mentioned, in terms of prepping people from the racecraft side of things, the learning how to run and block and read a race and know who's leading, and if the car that comes out in front is the actual leader or a dummy runner. There's just so much
strategy, so much thinking, you know, rather than just going out there and putting the car in front and trying to keep it there. Like, I I know, like watching some footage, there was a race where the lights went green and half the field didn't go. And I was like, did they stall? Like, are they meant to hold back? But it was just drivers trying to throw the mind off, who might have been gunning for them or who was trying to get in front of them. No, like it's just so many mind games going into this racing, as well as just raw ability as well, and the ability to get thrown into the wall for Wiki.
Yeah, so one thing I don't quite get is how does it work with, like how many teams would there be nominated for the big race? Like their four-car teams, how many would nominate?
Probably between 12 and 15. So there's 2 teams on the track at once.
Yeah.
The format generally, they either qualify in groups or all together, and everyone gets 2 races. So basically on first night you get 2 races, and whether it's 4 or 8 teams, depending on when they have quarterfinals or semis, will qualify for the second night to have a chance at winning. So essentially you're racing for the win because you get the most points by having the car across the line first, but aggregate points are actually important across your 2 races. So in other words, coming home in 5th place rather than 6th gets you another 10 points, and that might be what gets you into the semi-finals. That's the most likely scenario is, say, 12 teams, maybe with us there, maybe there'll be 15, and some sort of final system on the second night. It's a bit variable. The host track does get to choose quite a bit around how the format unfolds, and that's I guess the bit.
So does that mean if we win it, we can just bring the race back to Australia, and then they've all got to travel over to us, and we dictate the rules from there on out?
I think the problem here is that the concrete walls are nowhere near thick enough.
Yeah, you're right.
It just wouldn't work. It's hard to describe. I mean, they look the same. The fences look the same, but a New Zealand fence is about yay thick versus yay thick for a reason.
So in the championship race, say you'll be racing. If Australia makes it, they'll be racing to beat one other team in the final. That's how it works. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So you just so you go through like motorbikes. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Wasn't sure on that. So then you got your blockers and then your tactical stuff in that.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
So for anybody who hasn't done so already and used their initiative and gone to the Team Australia page, how can they get involved? Where do they find the links? How do they apply?
Well, the easiest way to apply is to jump on Facebook. If they check out facebook.com/Speedway Team Australia, there is a link at the top of the page where they can click and apply to compete. Give us the spiel and tell us, what do you think? What have you got that you can bring to the table to bring to Team Australia and hopefully bring that trophy home in February next year.
Hell yeah, it's going to be super cool. And to the people who don't make the team, as we were saying, don't be disheartened. Still book a flight to New Zealand and come. We're going to go over there and have a super fun time, watch some really, really cool racing, and hopefully kick some Kiwis' ass.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Big Kev.
I think he was a Kiwi, wasn't he?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting off track.
For the sake of the
podcast. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time tonight. We appreciate it. We look forward to releasing more information as it gets a little bit closer. We're sorry we held you up. I know you're both very busy men, but yeah, we all have to run on Jake's time with the Black Flag podcast. So
sorry about that.
We'll work better on that next time.
All good, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
No, thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Really? I thought I was just here.
So there we go. We're done. So that was Adam Brook and Tim Saville, the brains behind Team Australia. Snake, that's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, it is cool. What, the cigarette or?
What, are you trying to take up smoking?
No, I just thought you look super badass holding a smoke. I was like,
oh, that's fun.
I thought I just might hold one, but you can still suck it and.
Right, so Black Flag fans, stop sitting at home being internet trolls. Cockerel, looking at you. Get on board. Apply now, because we want to have the coolest people in Australia go over and race this event. We want you to be a part of it. Whether you're going to be racer or whether you're going to come over as a spectator, come over and have some fun. It's a really, really cool initiative. It's going to be great to be able to bridge the gap between Australia and New Zealand as far as Speedway goes. And it gives us an opportunity to go and represent Australia in racing, which racing's so fundamentally focused on the one driver like Jake being very, very self-centered. That's how Speedway is in Australia, and now we get to be a team. And I think that's, to me, that's the thing I find the coolest. The fact that I could have one of my favourite modified drivers, street stock driver, production sedan driver, late model driver, sprint car driver, all together in one team. It's going to be badass.
Yeah, I think being the Speedway world, I guess a lot of people wouldn't understand. Well, a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't understand that team sport. Like football is a totally different feeling to Speedway. Speedway, you are by yourself. You got your crew or whatever, but that team that you're doing something for a greater, like a bigger thing than just yourself is quite satisfying. So I think the people that do make it, Brad Warren and the likes of that will get in.
You really? What you owe him money or something?
Nah, when it's the second I heard it, I'm just like, Brad Warren was just smash it at this.
There are particular drivers that I suppose if you were to sit around and say we need a driver who can be quick-witted as well as a quick driver, but also the ability to have a little bit of aggro in them, a bit of C word in them, and jam someone into the wall. Yeah, well, there's probably 5 drivers to me that would come to mind straight away.
Well, when you first told me about the first thing what you were telling me all about, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then we watched a bit of that YouTube or whatever, and the first thing I said to you when we were watching that, I was like, Brad Warren would be good at this. And then I was down at Madura Crash Supplies, one of our great sponsors.
Yeah, what up, mate?
What's up? And none other than the great Brian Galley was there, and we were talking about it, and he goes, Snake, you know who'd be good at that? Fucking Brad Warren. And I said,
there's a lot of people. And he goes, a lot of people have thrown that name out there.
Yeah, bloody oath. So I'm like,
which I don't know whether Brad should be chuffed with that. Like, he's not known for being the cleanest dude on the track.
No, just because he does crash and bash and all that, and you know, he just drives anything. He's driven from a sprint car to a.
I think that's probably what we want to see, and you know, it's not going to be a team made up of checkbook races or daddy paid for me to get here and stuff like that. It's going to be drivers who are diverse. Those guys that can literally jump in any race car and perform. Like Jamie Oldfield, people like that. Like they're to me, that'd be the sort of people that would probably jump in. Someone like Lindsay went from straight stocks to sprint cars. You know what I mean? Like a very adaptive driver, very quick to adapt, quick thinking drivers.
Yeah, and the one thing you said to me, like when we were talking about it, and you talking to Adam and stuff like that about it, was that Speedway Australia is trying to sort of raise the profile of people in Speedway because we are so divided in we're sedan people, they're open wheel people, you know, and you know, Anthony Baird, we talk about him all the time, but a lot of sprint car people probably wouldn't even know, even though he's the most successful driver in the country of all classes. But this here gives, if the sprint car people just say, for instance, that James McFadden was doing it, or, you know, just for instance, if it was, and the sprint car people would be engaged in that, and then they would become to know who the other side, and same goes for sedan people. We would learn, you know, and that's where you become to like people. There could be someone that's out of Formula 500s that we never heard of, and they are just an absolute beast. And then all of a sudden,
and by the time they're done with this, everyone's going to know who they are.
And you know, you see them just do some cool shit and just smash some dude over the fence, and you're like, he's my new favorite.
Yep.
So, or he or she or it,
and we talked
about
bridging the gap between Australia and New Zealand, but just to bridge the gap between classes, like to bridge the gap between open wheels and sedan races and stuff like that from both competitors and fans. It's going to be cool as shit.
Yeah, and I think we need that unity after the last sort of 6 months of what we've been going through with all this lockdowns and stuff like that, and the world's going crazy. This will help, I think, as in we have a common thing to support, and you know, it's like going for your football
Aussie
club.
pride.
Yeah, and it's good. It's real good actually. It's you know, it gives us.
What did you say in the application?
Nothing. I haven't applied yet.
Oh well, I haven't applied.
No, I might have applied. I can't remember. I don't know. My application will say,
"I'm Jake Druitt,"
and mine will say, "Jake Druitt, no application required."
Can wreck shit.
Where do I show
sign?
up? Where's my contract?
All right. So if you haven't done so already, head over to the Facebook page, like Team Australia on Facebook. We'll put all the information in the description. Now, this video, ordinarily we upload to YouTube, but this video will be going onto Facebook to reach that greater audience. So if you're watching this and this is the first time watching it, welcome. Jake, say hi.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Now, head over to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. That way you'll stay up to date with all the Black Flag bullshit that we put up.
Yeah.
But it's super cool to be involved. We're not going over there in any official role. I want to go over as a fan, as a spectator. I want to be a part of this for the very, very first time. And I know you do as well, Jake. And yeah, hopefully it gets the support that it deserves, because this is going to be a super cool event.
Yeah, well, one thing I should have asked is, are we going to try and do a video log of the event for?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That'd be cool. So yeah, I reckon that's going to be cool, behind the scenes sort of thing, and
we'll just get heaps of content over there. Lots of fun shit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Super short episode for the Black Flag podcast. Shortest one that we've ever done that you guys are going to see anyway. Jake, thank you very much for running late this afternoon and holding up, the boss of Speedway Australia. That was cool.
No, can do that anytime.
Yeah. All right, and we're done. Goodbye.
I am Cornholio. I need TP for my bunghole.
I'm running the race and I'm glad. I'm running the race and I'm faster than them. Yeah. I'm in first place and I'm zooming past. Yeah, what?